Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 7:06 PM. Let the record reflect that we had an executive session prior to tonight's meeting about personnel. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Henderson?
Here.
Mr. Petroselli?
Here.
Mr. Gallarducci?
Here.
Mr. Colosimo?
Here.
Mr. Verducci?
Here.
Ms. Cimaroli? Here. Mr. Shashowski?
Here.
Mayor Copeland? Here.
Thank you, sir. Tonight's order of business is to review and discuss the proposed 2024 budget. With that in mind, we have no one signed up for public comment. Either of you care to make public comment? Okay. Thank you. Thanks for being here, both of you. I'll turn it over to Joe.
All right, in your packet, we'll have two things we'll reference. One is just an easy guide to take notes on. It's the Excel spreadsheet. And then,
Easy if you could see it with your eyes.
I know.
Can we put an expense in for legal size paper next year?
We could do that. And then there's the book, the narrative. So I'll start with on the narrative side. It starts off with the budget message. The 2024 budget is a balanced spending plan of about $7.7 million. The only fund that wasn't finalized at the time that the budget packet was distributed was the garbage fund. We had a bid opening today, so we'll be able to get that budget finalized within the next week or so to have that budget reflect actual numbers. To review really the nuts and bolts of the budget's general fund, between 2023 and 2024, operating costs of the borough are increasing by about $180,000. It's going to fund a couple of neat adventures for the borough that are proposed. Revenues budget is increasing by 4.5%. There's no tax increases proposed. The principal increases for the 4.5% increase is rather just lack of better conversation is taxation through inflation. Earned income tax is up because wages are up. Real estate transfer tax is up because property values are up on home sales. And regional asset district, that's the 1% sales tax, is up within the economy. To review the finances of the 2023 year, despite being faced with the record high inflation, the rising other costs, the borough is on track to end the year with revenue greater than expenditures. Once we get to the dollar side, the figures, my year-end forecast has us about $300,000 to the good for the end of the year. We run a conservative ship, just to say. As you saw last year, we had about a $400,000 surplus. So we're able to stay within our means. We have a very healthy fund balance. The fund balance is, we kind of kept the magic number at $1 million in the general fund, and that enables us to never have, not never, but right now not to have a tax anticipation note, and that carries us tax season to tax season. And anything above the $1 million, a couple years ago we created a budgetary reserve fund. It's kind of like our rainy day when the next flood happens, and we start putting money aside so that if that disaster day comes, right now we have about $350,000 in there to start paying for those emergency disaster costs out of that versus hitting the fund balance. So it's kind of our rainy day fund. And then anything on top of that, we put the capital projects funds. So you'll see a recommendation to transfer so much of that to capital projects, so much to the rainy day fund, and then everything moves on. 2023 is kind of a year marked with some significant accomplishments that you guys should be proud of what you were able to achieve. I'll just run through them real quick. General government and public safety, we completed the community plan to update the borough's comprehensive plan. That was last done in 2005, and half of that project was paid for by a grant from the state. This year alone, we were able to secure $6.3 million in grant funding for multiple projects, and that's as of October. We were recognized by the County League of Municipalities as a banner community, and we received first place recognition for our newsletter. Fully funded by grants, we purchased new in-car camera equipment for all of our police cruisers. We partnered with Public Art Bridgeville to host the second year of the outdoor sculpture exhibition that really gave a nice showcase to the borough within the region. We purchased a new police car and public works tractor. We created the Snow Angel program to connect community volunteers to elderly or disabled citizens. We implemented multiple recommendations of the 2022 active transportation plan, including streetlight upgrades and park trail improvements. We implemented positive pay bank account protection measures to guard against the borough's bank accounts against fraud. Some infrastructure improvements. We completed the 2023 road program that paved Greenwood Place, Carriage Street, half of Laurel Street. This project was completed by Youngblood Plavin. The Public Works employees resurfaced the alley between Elm and Chestnut Street and portions of Elmo Alley and May Avenue Alley. And after multiple requests made by the Borough Council, PennDOT was able to resurface Bank Street this year, which is a state road. We partnered with PennDOT for the completion of the new South End 7-lane bridge into Bridgeville from South Fayette to Washington Avenue. This included the widening of Chartier Street. The borough contributed $788,000 to this project, with $500 of it being funded by a county gaming grant. And this project has also, it's been evident that it aided to reduce traffic congestion within that corridor. We completed and televised and inspected over 15,000 linear feet of sanitary sewers. We completed repairs to the Union Street landslide. Work was completed by A. Marenti Contracting. This project included construction of an extensive length of steel soldier beam and concrete leg and retaining wall, guardrail, and roadway restoration. We started the repair of the Warner Street landslide, and that one's right now delayed still. I'm waiting for West Penn Power. Hopefully by the end of this month or middle of next month at the latest, we'll have all the street signs in the borough updated with the new Federal Department of Transportation standards fonts, and just it brightens up the town. We completed extensive emergency sanitary sewer repairs on Center Street and replaced approximately 400 feet of pipe. This work was completed by Independent Enterprise and costed $89,000. Completed extensive sanitary sewer lining on Critchfield Drive. We made improvements to the borough building, including renovations to the rear exterior facade. Garage doors on the Public Works garages were updated. A vehicle repair lift was installed so that the borough fleet can be better taken care of in-house using our own mechanic. Some flood mitigation work. Keeping ahead of creek work, the Public Works crews removed thousands of tons of sediment from the McLaughlin Run Creek and the Chartiers Creek back channel. And that's basically helping reduce the impacts of the severe rainy days here in the borough. We added the 6th phase of sanitary sewer backflow preventers to 11 properties on McLaughlin Run Road. Some parks and recreation improvements. We constructed new playgrounds at Cook School, McLaughlin Run, and Chartiers Parks. You probably saw the updates today that McLaughlin, they got a lot done in a couple of days. And Cook School's about almost complete and should be done hopefully by the end of this week. The work at Cook School and McLaughlin was partially funded by a grant from the Commonwealth. And the new playground equipments are, they have unique features to make them more inclusive for someone with disabilities, and the fall surface or rubber versus the mulch. We reconstructed the sidewalks and benches within Triangle Park, and that was funded by a grant. We installed new street lights, parking lot lighting, and tolls within Chartiers Park. That project cost $114,000. The Public Works Department also upgraded the lighting in all the park shelters and restroom buildings to LED fixtures to reduce energy consumption and improve effectiveness. We had multiple community days that the borough puts on, and most of that is paid for by donations from the community. And with the assistance of Tree Pittsburgh and some volunteers, we were able to start making improvements on the recently acquired Baldwin Street lots.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
Just to give you a break?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. This was a good year. So it's a really exciting.
I mean, to put it all together like that, Joe, you should be very proud of yourself. You led a charge and got a lot done.
Thanks.
So thank you.
I appreciate that. And then before we get to the numbers, like if someone on the street asks you, hey, can you summarize the 2024 budget? No tax increase. This is the 5th year without a real estate tax increase, and was able to just trim some fat and keep an eye on some revenue trends and go after some revenue that basically was just sitting on the table. We were able to hire an additional full-time police officer, increasing the rank to 9 full-time officers, basically, for the sake of conversation, eliminating the need to have a part-time officer. So all the officers are going to be full-time guys that will know the community. Significant increases to municipal contributions to the Bridgeville Library, the Volunteer Fire Company, and Southbridge EMS. Replacement of a public works truck. New bulletproof vests and tasers for all police officers. $336,000 is dedicated for road resurfacing. Conservatively, it's estimated to pave 3 streets. It kind of matches this year's budget. And that got us on a nice aggressive paving program again. The active transportation improvements are proposed for next year, including construction of sidewalk bump outs on Bank Street and new sidewalks on Chartier Street. Consulting services to develop a downtown zoning ordinance amendment as recommended by the comprehensive plan. Investments to the sanitary sewer system, which includes extensive pipelining work, repairs to reduce stormwater infiltration, and cleaning and inspection contracted work. A new garbage collection contract and new recycling carts will provide all households in the borough in January. We'll be able to complete the permitting and engineering necessary to start construction of Phase 1A of the McLaughlin Run Flood Control Project. And just as a side note, we submitted paperwork to PEMA this week to get the grant contract moving forward. If you remember on last month's agenda was that resolution. Our proposed timeline is to have that project started now and be completed by 2026. So we're looking at 2 years to have Phase 1A done, and then that was submitted to PEMA. And then installation of the first phase of borough wayfinding signs to key locations within the community, such as the downtown, public parking lots, parks, library, and other public buildings. And that was another recommendation from the comprehensive plan. The 2024 budget, mainly so people understand how it comes about. It's a principal duty of the borough manager is to prepare the recommended budget for council. In August, I solicit communication with all the members of council, department heads, asking, hey, what is your vision? What do you want to see? What's your needs? What's your goals for 2024? September through October, getting that feedback, I put together the proposed municipal budget. Fortunately, our requests really aren't too crazy, and most of the requests, if not most, all of them, were able to be incorporated into what we have before you. On October 19th, we reviewed this with the Finance Committee, and there were some adjustments made then. On October 26th, public notice was in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and message boards around town, giving notice to the public about the budget meeting tonight. November 1st, you guys got your draft budgets, and tonight we're here for our first budget meeting. If everything goes well, I would hope that we could have a recommendation to get this advertised and put on public display sometime this month so that it can be adopted at our December 11th council meeting. So at that meeting, we will hopefully adopt the budget and pass the necessary tax resolutions, sewer resolutions, and fee resolution amendments so that come January 1, we hit the ground running and everything's good. So that is the budget message. Now moving into each fund. I think before I start the general fund, is there any questions on like the synopsis? All right.
Well done.
All right, so, but one thing I said, I just want, like, no one wants to read all this. So, like, if you had to share this with your neighbor, what's the coffee talk for 2024? It's page 6. It's like, those are the highlights. And then you're like, okay, I get it. Okay. All right, so general fund. General fund is the principal funding source for all the day-to-day operations of the community for what the citizens expect. It's a balanced spending plan of about $3.6 million. The fund narrative, I try to get into every detail so that if you're new to borough government or you're someone who just wants to know how the town operates, I detail everything from the number of streetlights, fire plugs, how much an average home pays on real estate taxes, who does what duties, so that it's easily understood where my tax dollars go and how you would have faith in your local government. So if we could just take up the spreadsheet, so we'll just go to the number side, so I don't hold you up too long. We'll go through the revenue. So on the revenue side, the first line item classes are your 301s, and this is real estate taxes. Like I said earlier, there's no increase in real estate taxes. However, there is an increase in the assessed value of the municipality. There's 2,348 parcels. The overall assessed value of the taxable properties is $244 billion. No, billion. Yeah, billion. Yeah, billion. $989,635 worth of real estate that's taxable. The average property value is $97,400, and they pay about $800 per year in borough real estate taxes without the discount applied. So overall, real estate taxes are staying the same, but just on increases in assessment from building permits and challenges raised by other governmental entities, the overall collections will bring in about $19,400 more worth of real estate taxes next year. And as you see on this spreadsheet, I have 2020 actual numbers, 21 actual numbers, 22 actual numbers, 23 budget, the 23 as of when I started this, which was 9/6, 23 year-end forecast, and then the 24 budget. So you can see that the 24 budget is based on, at the minimum, 3 to 4 years of actual numbers. So you can see it isn't just like a pie in the sky number. These are a statistical trend that you can see that gives out a definitive, plausible number. So, like I said, $19,400 more real estate tax. Now, going into Act 511 taxes. This is real estate transfer tax, earned income tax, mercantile, local services tax, and business privilege tax. There's an increase of about $126,000. The main increases here is earned income tax. Local earned income tax is growing really off the chart compared to prior years. For example, today, this is the first week in November. Our budget for the year was $600,000 in earned income tax current year. With the deposit today, we're at $607,000. So I'm fairly certain that we'll end this year well above my year-end estimate, $660. So when I have an estimate at $680 for next year, knowing that I still got 2 more months of the year for collections, and we're at $607,000 now, $680 is conservative. And I try to stay conservative, not thinking about 24, thinking about 25, so that we don't take all the wiggle room out of that line item, so that there is room going into the next fiscal year, 2 years out, so we can keep kicking that can for that tax increase. So when I had that proposed number of 680, I know it's a big number increase, it's 80 grand more, and that's a salary. I think it's conservative and very optimistic that we'll hit that. Other increases is business privilege tax. A lot of businesses are now caught up on business privilege tax, and some businesses that weren't paying it in the past have been identified, and Jordan has been very diligent in getting them up to snuff. So that's where you can see how back in 2020 we would bring in $47,000 in business privilege. Now it's up to about $98,000. And there's no change. It's the same numbers as you had back in the 80s. It's just now everyone's paying it and it's fair. Any questions on Act 511 and real estate taxes? Because those are really, I would say that's probably 70% of the general fund budget. Now getting into the smaller ones, these are like permits and charges for service and intergovernmental entitlements. There's really no big changes here in the next classifications coming down. Street opening permits, I have a recommendation that I sent over to the Finance Committee, was to increase the street opening permit fee and even institute what's called a degradation fee against those utility companies, so that, like, if we just pave Grandview Avenue and we give them notice ahead of time, we're paving Grandview Avenue in 2023, please get all your work done. They say, okay, we're all done, and then in 2024 they come in and say, you know what, we're going to put a new water line down that street. All right, when that street's brand new for 5 years, you can zonk them with fines for basically tearing up your brand new street. And I know other municipalities that do it, so I feel like it's...
We tried that for years too.
Yeah.
There's always one or two that screw it up and tear the new road up.
Correct, and it's frustrating. And we already got communication from the water company what roads are going to be doing work on next year. So there's an extensive amount of work that's proposed within the borough. So I'd like to present a recommendation just to increase that fee, and it's easy cash.
I know we have that cover by cover, which it's been a big help for us.
Huge.
You
help.
and I talk about it. We almost got 2 or 3 streets.
If, for example, here's the first street that we were able to get the entire road repaved was Ramsey Avenue.
Yeah.
So from the railroad track to the end, they would put new gas line, and instead of before just being curb to center line, it's curb to curb. So Ramsey Avenue, the people think that the borough paved the street. In all essence, it was people's gas
Yeah.
under the ordinance requirements.
Yeah.
So it's, we're getting.
Well, if they would follow up on online, you'll see that there was a motion here
Yeah.
to make that, but it's beside the point. Let them think that way, that's fine.
It's good.
It's good, it's a good thing.
And it stretches the tax dollars
It
for us to do
does,
the next year.
it does, it does. And what I like about it, like you and I talk about it, if they take only 10 feet, just to repeat over there, that 10 feet, they gotta go all the way across.
Correct.
They gotta do all the way across, curb to curb, all,
Yes, 5 feet in either direction, curb to curb.
exactly. That was a big, huge compliment to our council who agree with my motion. And without unity, we can't do anything. We only have one vote, each one of us.
So the department increase for these necessary permits is about an $8,000 increase. Another big increase was mechanical amusement devices, and that's $4,800, and that's just machines that are in current establishments. Fines and forfeitures, at the end, it's about the same. The next classification is fund interest. The interest we're earning on our bank accounts right now is, if you look in prior years, it's off the charts. So next year it shows an increase of about $23,000 in additional interest on the general fund. Now, going into intergovernmental entitlements, these are what we get from the state, such as the public utility, that's PERDA, money from Marcellus Shale, the state pension fund, payments from PennDOT to do snow removal on their roads, winter reimbursement from the county to do work on Bower Hill Road. There's a decrease mainly in state pension aid based off of the 2021 valuations of the fund by the actuary. So you're going to see this classification down $2,100, but it's offset from the expenditure, so it really won't have that much of an effect on the bottom line. The next noticeable thing, it would be miscellaneous insurance reimbursement. The borough's workers' comp and liability and employment practices and property insurances are within a trust. Our dividend is anticipated to go down next year, and I budgeted at $10,000 less there. So you'll see overall that is down $15,000. And miscellaneous sales would be the sale of a public works truck. So when you see that line item. The next group is contributions for community events. And you can see community events from Day on the Avenue. We bring in this year alone $17,000 in donations to run Day on the Avenue. Reimbursements from the police department for overtime for their details. And then reimbursement from employees for health insurance deductibles. So that shows an increase of $7,600. The next group is reimbursement from other funds to reimburse the general fund for wages of the public works and administration to do sanitary sewer work and garbage work, and that is up $11,000 next year. And that's mainly from the sewer fund to cover the actual time the public works does the sewer maintenance on the maintenance work. Conservatively, it's about 280, 300 man hours just when they go out and do vector cleaning. And I just wanted to make it a true reimbursement back to the general fund for the actual costs that's incurred. And about 8% of my wages in the assistance is covered out of the sewer fund. The sewer fund is essentially a public utility, in lack of better words, and we run that utility service. And the sewer fund's under a number of consent orders, and we'll get into that when we get into the sewer fund discussion, but the sewer fund is a rather complex operation anymore. So overall, general fund revenue is $3.6 million, an increase of about $180,000. Any questions? All right, so now going into expenditures, we're going to go by department. The first group is administration. Aside from some wage increases and increases for seminars to cover for training for elected officials and appointed staff of about $1,800. Administration is supposed to go up next year $4,600. No change really in tax collection or the treasurer's office. Solicitor has been rather the same. We limit the use of legal counsel as much as we can to keep those costs down. Insurances, there's some increases in insurance that are worth just making note of. Workers' comp is estimated to go up next year about $13,000. This is due to two things. Loss runs for now, the grouping that we had aren't as good looking as they were for a couple years before that, so it increased the mod. And then we had a change in what the rates are for police officers that increased that. And then the wages that we'd be paying to a full-time police officer are more than what we were paying for a part-time officer, and workers' comp based off of wages. So that's where that number comes from.
Joe, anyways, I go back to salary of assistant to manager. That's a pretty big jump there.
Yes, so I apologize for going over that. So what I would like, I discussed with the finance committee, is the assistant to the manager, for lack of better words, serves as almost as the borough's finance director. So I'm hoping to propose a change of title to something along the names of finance officer, and to compensate that position for the work that is being done. So I do show an increase from $57,000 to $63,000 for the assistant position.
Just as discussion, I would suggest that be in lieu of the annual increase. I mean, we're not going to raise her salary and then give her an annual increase.
See, that's like it's both. It was like, it goes up to, it's going up $5,900 next year, so it goes up to 63. So basically, what I'm trying to do, the mindset was, at the minimum, it matches the wages of the guy that we would hire to come in downstairs to work the road crew. So that's where that wage came in at. So it wasn't like too arbitrary.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Everybody good? Okay.
Well, like you say, I'm a little confused there. The separation, you say it looks like we raised them twice from what, but he already put an increase here on the budget for 2024.
It's a combination of an increase and a promotion.
And promotion.
It's a combination, it's together, it's not give her this and then give that person.
No.
It's the combination of the two is one.
Okay, that was a question I had. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
He's a little more eloquent than I.
No, we couldn't be talking this whole time.
All right, so is there any other questions on the administration? All right. So now skipping back ahead to the 406s. We went over workers' comp. The next one is health insurance. Health insurance is going up 7% next year. And then there was a change in IRS law that increased the deductibles, and the deductibles are going up about $12,000 too. So the overall health insurance is going up about $38,000 next year. So that's the biggest hit we had here that wasn't foreseen.
By the way, we have the health insurance, correct me if I'm wrong. The deductible come out of the pockets from the employee, right?
The employees are responsible for 25%.
Percent, that's correct. That's something, I mean, we know all that, right?
While we're looking at 406, life insurance, who do we currently use for that?
It's all through the insurance
Oh, it's
trust.
the same, okay.
Yeah.
Now-
So, MEIT.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then I'll talk to you about that meeting I had earlier today,
Okay.
later.
So this department, the insurances are going up $54,000 next year. It's mainly because of those two. And that's really the unforeseen biggest hits we have going on.
business-wise, everybody's getting.
Really no changes for 407, which is the, information technology, runs the computer systems here. Engineer, I show a $5,000 increase for flood mitigation engineering, so engineering is $120,000 out of the general fund. 409s is the borough building. There's a decrease of about $6,000 in building maintenance. The only big project that's really left on the building, if you looked in the past 3 years, we've done everything on this building. We did a new roof, all the walls, everything's been painted, all the carpet, everything's been done. The only thing left is the police front door, the garage door. It's been beat up a bunch of times, and it's the front door of the building, and it looks bad. So it's time to replace that door. That's what I'm-
All your plumbing's done too? Because I talked to Gene Calavo last week,
Mhm.
and he was concerned about some shut-off valve.
He's
or-
been having concern about backflow prevention.
He has a very big concern about that.
Yeah, as long as it keeps passing, why should we put out $5,000?
Yeah, I mean, he tells me all the time, he has a very large concern. Maybe you and him should talk about it.
I have talked to him.
Would you,
about it.
you did?
I did.
Okay.
But it passes. So until that day that it don't pass, why waste $5,000 on a backflow preventer? Just $5,000. From a facility like this, it's rather stupid.
Yeah.
What it
I
is.
had one in our garage.
We have one on a water fountain in Triumph Park. Like,
Yeah.
it's pointless, But
We
it's a rule.
being recorded, so.
Oh, it's a roll?
It's a law.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It's a law.
It's a law. But it passes, and it's a law, and he certifies it.
Yeah, it's certified, that's correct.
Now moving into the police department, so there's some increases here that are worth noting. The collective bargaining agreement, we have a 5-year collective bargaining agreement with the police employees and the public works employees. Those are our two only collective bargaining agreements that we have with municipal employees. Next year is year 3. It requires a 3% increase. The police chief's salary is going up 3% as a default to that. Sergeant's the same. Patrolman, this line item has the additional new hire, so there'd be 6 full-time patrolmen. However, when you hire, according to the collective bargaining agreement, you come in at 70% for the first 8 months, and then at month 8, you get 80%, and that's for a number of months. I budgeted the whole year at 80%. So,
It's smart,
so-
it's smart.
so hopefully, so going into
Sure,
25, the hit
It's smart.
won't be as bad.
You'll be minus somehow, but it's a
It's
good
close.
thing to do.
And then the part-time police officer, talking to the chief, we did totally eliminate the wage. So the budget went from 47,000 to 15,000. And the chief's request was keep it for just so that we could hire a part-timer that would work the 3 summer months when the other guys are on vacation. So that was the only. The increases in holiday pay, overtime pay, uniform allowance are all due to the new guy coming on. So those are contractual obligations. Computer maintenance, this is an increase of $3,800. There's software maintenance costs for the body cameras and in-car cameras. So that's an annual cost of $3,800 for the server to back up that, so that stays up to date. And then this computer costs also run the LPR system that's on the Bar Hill Road traffic signal, and then all the reporting software. So there's a lot of computer components that run within the police department that we pay out of this line item. So most of this is just maintenance fees. Miscellaneous is up $500 to pay for some range time. And then capital purchases are down $30,000, and it leaves $15,000 here. If you've seen over the past couple of years, we've been able to get into a nice fleet rotation where we go 1 year police car, next year public works truck. 1 year police car, next year go public works truck, so that we don't get behind the 8 ball having, an aging fleet. So next year, it's proposed to do a public works truck, and then the money that we had for capital improvements in public works, such as like the lawn tractor and that work, then comes upstairs and buys the tasers for the police department. The tasers that they have were secondhand from Collier Township and about 18 years old, and just at their end of life. So that was the wish out of the police department. The body armor, their bulletproof vests are due to expire next year, and Chad submitted a request to the U.S. Department of Justice to help reimburse us back for those new vests, and we already received confirmation that of the $11,000 purchase, we'll be getting back $4,200 worth from the federal plan. So the police department next year shows an increase of $37,000. And that does not include soft costs such as health insurance and pension. It's like the nuts and bolts police department. Fire department and EMS, after review with the finance committee, we're proposing an increase of $8,000 to each the fire department and the ambulance service. So the fire department has a number of line items that we send funds over to them. We have a small line item that we pay for supplies, and that pays for their copier, and then at the end of the year, we cut a check over them, and that's about $10,000. We pay for all their fuel, that's about $6,000. We send a sizable contribution over that pays for the ladder truck. As everyone knows, the borough financed the debt to provide the new ladder truck for them. That's paid every September. It's about $65,000. This year we sent over $82,000. Next year is proposed to send over $90,000. The fire hydrants within the borough, you have to pay a monthly service charge on them, and that's $25,000. We get money from the state for their relief association. Relief associations pass through about $26,000. So these are all the funding sources from the municipal side to help operate the fire company. And then EMS contribution, as we started in 2021, when the ambulance crisis in the area started to happen, and they were asking for municipal aid, we're up to proposing $8,000 more next year, so it would give them a contribution of $20,000 from the borough to fund the ambulance
So
service.
how much was the total approximately for the fire department?
It's about 102 when you add up the.
And that's pretty comparable to most municipalities in the area.
Correct. It's comparable to Collier, Scott, and it's above South Fayette.
Do you know what Southbridge asked South Fayette for in their?
I didn't get a number here, but from talking to their assistant manager, it was a number around $300,000 he was asking for.
It's a much larger
I know,
area.
yeah.
But interesting enough, we didn't get a letter from them. So any questions on fire and EMS? All right, so next one is building inspection and zoning. Everything stays the same, no changes. The next group down is consultant. This is planning. You'll see $10,000 added, and that was a recommendation of the comprehensive plan to start to do a zoning amendment for the downtown, to have kind of a downtown zoning district. So we have $10,000 budgeted for planning work next year for consulting services. So however that's used, there's at least a pot of funds there to do some type of planning consultant work. And I already reached out to the state to get municipal assistance to do that, any type of zoning update, planning update. It's competitive, but knowing that we had your support before, we're pretty good to get funding moving forward, and they'll pay half of that. So we can probably stretch this a little more. So I reached out to them this week, and I have a dialogue going there to at least get an application. So if we wait a little bit like we did with the comp plan, it may pay for half of it. Now moving into Public Works Department, same thing, year 3 of the 5-year collective bargaining agreement. The Public Works foreman I have going up 3% next year. Capital purchases, the request is to replace the 2006 pickup with another utility body, and then that truck would be split half between the general fund and half the sewer fund. Snow removal costs, over time, it stays the same. However, you look at this year, we budgeted $20,000 and we had no winter. So we only spent $2,900 on public works overtime for the year because there was nothing. However, it's interesting to note it's bulk salt. We're under a contract with Cargill to purchase 80% of our estimate that we send over. The contract runs like June, like the state fiscal year, July 1 to June. So last year, because we had no winter, we still had 290 tons that we had to take delivery by June. And we're like, the salt bin before the winter ended, we maxed up and it's heaving because we didn't have anything. So they were able to extend the salt contract December 31st to take order of that 230 ton. So between basically now and December 31st,
Praying for some snow.
or in all reality, it's like
Lot of margaritas.
no snow, is that if it has to sit in a pile, it's only going to sit in a pile for a month or so, and it's not that bad. If it had to sit for 6 months,
Better break it up.
it'd go bad. So last week of December after Christmas, there's going to be a convoy of salt trucks coming to the borough. But next year's estimate for what we ordered, instead of asking for almost 900 tons of rock salt, knowing that the bin already has 500 ton in it and 280 are on the way, I only put in a salt contract for next year's estimate of like 200 tons. So if we have to get stuck buying 80% of 200, we can easily find a home for it.
Well, we allocate so many tons, so
Correct.
how would you be able to reduce that?
It's like this budget. It's the best educated
Okay,
guess I
okay,
can
okay,
have.
okay.
I have to
That's
educate
enough,
guess
that's
how
enough.
much rock salt we're gonna use, how many times you're gonna flush your toilet to pay Elkison.
I
I can only guess as much.
Okay,
as I
okay,
can.
okay.
Yeah,
I got it.
but I'm pretty good at this, so these are good.
Okay.
What happens if we end up having a surplus of salt? Does it go bad?
No, you just
Yeah.
tarp it.
I was gonna say, we tarp it, or is there a facilitation process we can use to, I don't know, offset to community members?
Didn't we pay storage on some
You
of it?
could pay a storage fee, and it's like $10 a ton. So it's like, why do that? You're better off just sit it down under the highway.
Yeah, you okay with paying?
But you have an you have the option to
You do have
get
that.
fresh stuff.
Correct.
I mean, you and I, we were looking for a new place when they want us to move it.
Correct, and to
Like
be
you-
honest with you, that's something maybe like council should keep in the back of your mind, is
Yes,
that our storage
definitely.
capacity for rock salt is, it could be enlarged, and if, we probably should find another home for it, just so that, like,
Well-
someone isn't gonna hold us hostage again,
Yeah,
like,
that-
Yeah,
yeah, and that was all because the tolling of the bridge, and that was them flexing muscles at us.
But we were
That's all that was.
looking, Joe, we were looking at that place by the railroad there, way back.
Correct,
That, we own that,
Yeah.
that little spot.
yeah,
We could make some there.
and even after everything calmed down,
Yeah,
they even said they'll work with us, so I think we're gonna be okay. You know,
well,
they worked with the borough in 2000 when they made the other on-ramp in
Yes.
79,
they did.
and there's a precedent there. And
Sure.
you've had your salt facility there since 1978, 1979.
Right.
So it's like
I wasn't
40-some years, and we have a lease on that property. It's just they have easements through there
Yeah.
that we don't have aerial rights to their easement when construction's going on. So that's the only time that it gets difficult. But we already have a precedent that it can be jockeyed around. But just so that nothing happens on the road, we probably should construct something that's domed and a little bit bigger.
In the
We
future,
should.
look for doming in that with
Yeah.
the sides and
Yeah.
We, not this year, for sure,
No.
but excuse me, but we should, council should think about it.
Agreed.
Maybe in the next 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
they should keep this, something should be done.
Yeah. But it's something interesting. It's like you want to talk like dollars and cents and like how much snows cost, and like people want to eat off streets, every time it snows, and at $90 a ton, and the trucks are going out. An average snowstorm is a couple grand here.
Yeah.
We throw on the street. Like when you come down and sign checks, those Cargill checks for a month are like 20 grand, you know? And you would never guess that, hey, it's 20 grand for that quick, you know? All right. Signs on the next page is 433. We have an increase of $2,000 proposed in each traffic paint. It's just getting more expensive. And sign blanks. We're getting caught up on refacing a lot of the signs within the borough to keep costs down. The crews downstairs, we have them now refacing old signs, so we harvest old signs and they reface them, the decals downstairs, so that keeps a lot of costs down. As you can see, a lot of the no parking signs have all been refaced in the past couple of years. We've refaced majority of the stop signs, majority of the speed limit signs. We just are phasing out by the end of the year, replacing all the street name signs. So there's still a couple more regulatory signs we have to upgrade, but they're getting to a level where they look what's expected and how they should be operated. So now we're starting to dedicate money now for wayfinding signage. I know in the comp plan, they have like crazy money set aside for that project, but I'm very certain that going through GNS signs, matching the signs we just did for the parks and the building downstairs, we can have a nice wayfinding project within our budget to at least to do maybe 30–40% of the signs next year on wayfinding. So it's a nice project that we can start working on.
We have the space.
Yeah, would be good. Is there any questions so far on Public Works items? All right, going into street lighting, there's a number of line items here. Repairs to street lights. This is a nice conversation pointer, is that I would say all the repairs now to all the street lights is done in-house by Greg. We don't even use an electrician. Like we used to have Andy come in the time. Like we had a major breakdown on Washington Avenue last week where in a junction box, water got in and fried all the wires. He rewired that whole system on Back Street extension without having an electrician come in. So all we pay for anymore, provided something bad doesn't happen, real bad, is just supplies. And to operate the street lights is about $49,000, about $50,000 just for operating street lights within the borough. And a lot of the repairs on the borough street lights we do in-house to keep costs down.
Joe, what would be the normal, if we didn't have Greg doing that, what would be that cost? Like the difference?
Well, look, like this is probably,
Just guessing.
well, look, you replaced like 6 lights within Chartiers Park, and granted they're aluminum and they're high, but it was a $114,000 project.
Yeah.
So we're doing
So like
something.
that box that you were talking about on the extension, would,
I bet you that was probably $2,500. We paid $2,500 to put 2 years ago to put in hand dryers in the bathrooms, if you remember.
so for him to do that, we saved about $2,500 just on that one circumstance.
Correct.
If not more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to stormwater. The stormwater system is separate than the sanitary sewer system in the borough. Stormwater costs are paid out of the general fund, not the sanitary sewer fund. We budget about $40,000 for storm sewer work. Most of the storm sewer line item, the MS4, is engineering and work done in-house by the Public Works crew to replace catch basins.
She did a good job on the circle of Critchfield.
Yes.
That's a beautiful
I've
job.
seen a new format.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it is a damn good job.
They did a new thing here.
Yeah.
I noticed that both Mike and Bill Chili,
Yes.
instead of bricking them, we had this custom metal
Yeah.
form made, in
Yeah,
all essence, that they excavate the street extensively where the box was, take out all the bricks. This metal steel form goes in, it's the size of a standard catch basin, and using all the concrete from Sill Hall, they've been making precast concrete inlets in place in the
Yeah.
streets. So about 2 weeks ago, the forms came in, and we did our first 2 catch basins up on Critchfield Circle
Yeah,
last week with it.
Absolutely fantastic job.
It's nice.
Yeah, that's, I mean, years ago it was wood, but now it's
Say,
nice
how many
wood.
thousands of dollars would
Salt.
you save by doing that in-house?
We have tremendous public work. We have a good talent out there. Mike is also pretty decent electrician, so
Correct.
he's definitely here.
And it was nice, is that over the past year, we kind of like, they've been wanting to like take on more duties like on the concrete side.
Yeah.
And they kind of sharpened their skill. We bought the tools, we invested in
Well, yeah,
in that to do concrete finish work, and they rebuilt the sidewalks on McLaughlin Road at the Triangle. And then when we had that bad traffic accident last month up on the avenue where that lady took out the pole, and it took out 4 slabs of sidewalk when that footer came up.
Yeah.
We didn't contract any of that out, so the concrete footer work, all that sidewalk work, all got done in-house. It's nice, and that concrete work now, we're doing catch basins, so
I
it's
know.
like each one's having their own niche.
Yeah. They do good, they do good. They're saving us a lot of money.
So then, now continue on to public works expenses, we're in 438. The wages for the laborers, that's the other 4 guys, year 3, 3% increase. There's a slight increase of $1,500 for Washington Avenue maintenance, and that takes care of the summer flowers and adding to the baskets and the mulch and everything up there. So we dedicate $4,000 to keep sprucing up the avenue little by little each summer. Overall, increase about $7,000 from those line items. Now going into parks, which is the 454s, this operates the 4 parks, pays for all the utilities, pays for a number of the maintenance and the supplies to run them. There's no budget increase next year. The capital purchase, if you go to the next page, 454387, I renamed that capital purchases. It used to be called Chartier, Sussex, McLaughlin. And if you remember, we were able to keep that $10,000 in the budget each year. That was from when we were starting to put the security cameras in the park. So each year that money's in there, and then that can also now be used for work on Baldwin Street, because capital projects within the park, really there's not much more to do. So we now start, I mean, like known, there's always something.
It's always fun to go to the park and see people not realize that there's cameras there, and then you're like, hey, and like, oh.
So we can also now start putting money aside to start doing more like we did at that lot at 646 Ball. The next group is allocation to the library, matching the increase to the fire company EMS. It has an $8,000 increase. So as you can see, over the past couple of years, we've been able to increase the library contribution a couple $1,000s each year. So if you look at 2021, it was $22,000, 22 we went up to $25,000, 23 we're up to $27,000, and then this year it's a sizable jump up to 35. So
Well,
it's $8,000.
we're in line with the required per capita, so we
We're
a little bit above, but
technically
that's
over.
good, nothing wrong with it.
No, we're technically lower.
You think?
Oh, absolutely. That's what they tell
30,000?
us. I'm sorry, per
Thirty-
capita, yeah, the Allegheny County Library says that we're actually still below the contribution. Which
The
is hard to
figure must,
believe,
the
but
figure must have changed, yeah. But anyway, 30,000, that's good money.
The next grouping is the community day. I show a proposed increase of $5,500. There was a request to incorporate fireworks into next year's community day. So,
What's the date of that?
don't go.
and then, so that's a rough number. I don't have a proposal in hand, but that's about what that would cost for that time of year.
Where, was there a proposed idea?
There's no anything other than that
Just
number.
that number.
Good.
And work with that.
Yeah. You can buy some sparklers.
Every kid gets a sparkler in town.
Yeah, and per capita, every kid will be able to get a
No,
sparkler.
no, liability.
Yeah,
All right. So,
never mind.
all right, now going into the pension funds, we did the MMO, which is the minimum municipal obligations. We did that at the September meeting. There's an increase on the police fund that it's high next year, which we knew, of about $19,000. All the other insurances, such as the general liability, false arrest, umbrella, public officials, as you can see, we've been fortunate. They really haven't changed much at all. So we left a cushion in there.
So on, and I forgot to ask this when you went over everything with me, when is the next calculation for that amount? That's
Now,
not every year, isn't it?
No,
Like
I-
every 3 years or
so the
something?
way the MMO works is that it's based off a number of things. It's off an actuarial evaluation. It's done every even year. So right now, they're doing the 23 evaluation. So we will know going into next year if this was conservative or not. What the problem is that we encounter is that the MMOs are tied off of state aid, off of both funds as if they're combined. So it turns out to be, if one fund's doing much better than the other fund, one class of employee would have a drop in what they contribute, even though it has no effect on this fund, and then it results in the next valuation causing a spike. So we need some leveling, and hopefully we see some numbers here soon. But the problem we encounter is that the police fund is easy to manage because it's done in-house. The non-uniform is through PMRS, the Municipal Retirement System through Harrisburg, and they're slow, and we don't even have any communication that they even started the 2023 actuary
When like
review.
the Senator, we're gonna push to look at that first.
So that's where that comes in, but it works out, it's smooth. It's just sometimes there's a delay. Like if you saw, remember this year, we usually get state aid for the pension fund once a year. Earlier this year, we had 2 contributions to state aid come in because they were playing catch up from the days that PMRS was slow last year. So that's what, it just happens, but it all smooths out. Reserve for contingencies, I showed an increase of $1,000, and this increases $1,000 to Public Art Bridgeville. This year, we gave $5,500 to Public Art Bridgeville to pay for the lease sculptures for the year. Next year is proposed giving them another $1,000, so it'd be $6,500 in cash. And then we cover the insurance costs, and then the costs of all the concrete work and the staffing time to do all that installation work. So those are some soft costs that are like not hidden, but like you don't realize, but they have a value. So next year is proposed giving them $1,000 more. And then going into debt, the borough has one loan, and it goes, I think this is year 4, year 4, but it stays the same. It's about 2.5, 2.7%. You know,
2.25.
2.25. And this was
I know that.
here's a little plug, and it's nice, is that if you look at 2023, or hard numbers year to date, the interest we made on the general fund exceeds the interest that we pay on the loan. So right there, it's like, makes it,
Life is good at that.
life is good.
Whoever thought of getting that loan at that time?
Chairman of the finance committee.
So then the total expenditures are $3.6 million.
Good job.
Any questions on expenditures on general fund?
When we used to get tax anticipation every year, the interest was so low that under 1 million, we could make money.
Correct.
And I'm sure the law's still the same, because you mentioned we make some money.
Well,
Was that in different set?
Those were back in the day. You used to be able to make good money off of that.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's regulations now that you have to have it all, the calculations where you're allowed to borrow money through a team. They're like, for example, we did the calculations, there's no way we'd even.
No, we didn't even qualify.
Yeah,
No.
exactly, so we wouldn't even be able to get on it.
And then if you remember, when Mark Kernley comes to present the audit, he always touches on our fund balance and the percentage of our fund balance to the actual general fund total. And it's like, on a healthy thing, it's like, okay, you should have 3 months of expenditure, so it's like 17% or something, he would say, and we're always, like, we're pushing.
Over that, yeah.
Yeah, it's very healthy.
I like seeing the addition to Public Art Bridgeville, that they're doing a lot of really nice things. I even saw a newspaper person going around today taking photos, so it was kind of cool.
It is.
We need a Taylor statue, not me, because I'm
Did
with
you say
the
Taylor
stand
like Taylor Swift?
I mean, we got one in front of, front of Sarasky over there. What's the matter with the Taylor? I thought you were gonna make him though.
Yeah, that little girl wasn't that big.
Okay, never mind.
Same size.
Go on, fence up.
All right, so we're going now to sanitary sewer fund. Really, the couple things are remarkable within here that are worth noting is that Elkasan is going up 7% next year. So that portion of our fee has to be passed on to the
Yeah.
ratepayers. So if Elkasan's going over 7%, it's an overall increase of 4.5% on your sewer bills. And it's just the same as last year. They had a 5-year rate plan at 7%. They're under EPA and Health Department consent orders that they're now breathing down our neck, and that's how this all comes about. The sewer fund is $2.2 million, and like how I said earlier, about 8% of my time on sewer is that it's interesting. The general fund that we operate the whole town is 3.3. What we operate the sanitary sewers is now inching up to 2.2. So it's getting pretty close
Pretty close.
to operate the sewer system. And there's calculations on average amount of gallons that we use, and we have those numbers that can confirm everything. So these are good estimates going into next year that we bounced off Elkasan, and they agreed with our math. So revenue next year, 2.2 million, using a portion of the fund balance. And if you looked at the past couple of years, I have recommended using a portion of the fund balance, just so that we can keep the Bridgeville sewer rate unchanged. If you go to page 24 of the text, and it shows how much a Bridgeville sewer bill is. Right now, people pay $17.14 per 1,000 gallons, with the average monthly payment of $7.29 to the Elkasan sewer fee. The borough's portion of the sewer bill is only $6.73, with $10 going to Elkasan. The $6.73 borough fee has been the same for probably about 4 or 5 years now, unchanged. Well, Elkasan's has been going up 7% each year. We've been able to hold the borough fee. So what we propose doing, instead of increasing that, knowing that the sewer fund has a fund balance of about 1.5 million, mainly because we've been deferring some of the larger capital projects until the consent order is underway, like we have now. Like this year, we proposed using $355,000 of the fund balance. We never did. So the next year, same thing, proposing to keep it balanced, $390,000. We probably won't even use it. So as you see, revenue to have a balanced budget is up $124,000. On the expenditure side, the payment to Elkasan is going up 7%, and some consent order work that will have to be done next year is a lot of the regionalization work. If you've seen in your council packets every month, myself, I meet with Upper St. Clair, Bethel Park, Three Rivers Wet Weather, County Health Department, and Elkasan every month on the regionalization of the main trunk line that goes from the firehouse all the way up into Bethel Park. As you know, we executed agreements to turn that over to Elkasan. We're finalizing the details of that now. As part of the consent order, we have to reduce stormwater infiltration into the system. Basically, that reduces the overflow to the creek. You don't have that very often anymore as you did 25 years ago. It happens, but it's not as frequent. The consent order required us to lower 10% of the flow at the point of connection. We call it C5310. There's multiple connections into the Elkasan system around the borough. And the borough spearheaded a design that was put together maybe 30 years ago to reconnect a little crisscross on Baldwin Street that basically eliminates majority of the Bridgeville flow out of the trunk line. Now there's a number of houses in the upper Coleman Street neighborhood that stays on, a couple of McLaughlin properties that they have to connect, so there's nowhere else to go. They'll still stay in, but majority of the flow into that sewer, that trunk line is eliminated by the Bridgeville project, that our two neighbors are getting consent order credits off of our municipal project being a good steward for the watershed. So we were able to get an Elkasan Grow grant to do that work. And it's interesting, if you look at the percentages, the borough's share to that is like, when I say share, I meant like flow, it's like 10%. So between the other two communities, the little guy really picked up a lot of the work for them. And we, as you saw in last month's summary, we're now working through the cost share agreements so that the funding outside of the GROW grant that they pay for. Because Bridgeville's the project lead, so they'll have to reimburse Bridgeville for that project. And we've been kind of like pumping the brakes a little bit on it because we submitted a clean water grant to the state to fund the other portion of that project. So this Commonwealth Financing Authority hasn't made a recommendation on that grant. Hopefully, they should do it at their November meeting, and if they award that project's 100% funded on the GROW grant and the state grant. So we're waiting to see if that's why that project didn't get built this year. We kept kicking the can, hoping we get some determination. And it worked out well. We were able to get extensions from the health department on that consent order that enabled that. And one thing that was nice about that project, we took care of Bridgeville when we did those applications. There's we're now into year 2 of the consent order, the new consent order. This will be year 3, and it got us back into the days of doing O&M CCTV work and Vector work. We've always had the Public Works Vector work that we do 4 or 5 weeks with the guys in-house, but now it's contractual CCTV work, where we'll have like Insight Pipe or Robinson Pipe do thousands of feet of work in town. It's full-blown inspections, documentation of the pipe, and then those are rated by the engineer, and he'll put together a work plan. And so we know from year 1 of CCTV work, essentially this side of the borough, there's about $200 and some thousand worth of pipelining that's needed to fix deficiencies in pipe. We were able to put a lot of those liner work in the GROW grant. So a lot of that GROW grant is paid for by, a lot of that work we paid by the GROW grant. And if that grant goes through, it pays for all that. Worst case, you can see down here, the lining work of $200,000 under source flow reduction and $130,000 under the separation work. There is some work you see that the borough has to do within that trunk line for Alcoasand to accept it. Alcoasand, they've been in the borough looking at the sewer. You've probably seen the guys. So we know what needs done, and we're working with the engineer to get that all addressed, but we're trying to get included in the GROW grant. And this work also includes work that we tried to get them to do a number of years ago, but they didn't award GROW money for, but they awarded it in this big package, was that New York Street, that sewer work there that all needed done. And one thing that was nice is that with this giant project, working with the 2 municipalities, Upper St. Clair is contributing now to the New York Street project because of the flow from them comes down New York Street. So it was kind of, hey, we helped you. We put the carrot with the 10% reduction with the Bridgeville project. So it's like, hey, you now got to help us with the New York, and it's all the one project. So now Upper St. Clair is on the hook to help us pay for it.
It was coming.
So it worked out good. So next year, we'll have a lot of sewer work in town, GROW state money or not, and the funding's in place to do that lining work, year 3 of the CCTV work, and then the McLaughlin Run disconnect, and then the New York sewer work, or the big sewer projects for next year. So we're really getting ahead of what's underground, and it's nice. I mean, I feel like getting ahead underground is keeping a lot of like sewer complaints down. It hasn't been that bad. Yeah, it's working. The backflow preventers were a lifesaver.
When you're talking to the municipalities, you gotta drop some bugs in their ear about putting their own retention area in.
That's coming next. So that's going to be a discussion that we'll probably have within the next month, 2 months. Our last meeting was that the health department is requiring us to do some type of storage capacity. So they have been identifying where can you store 11 million gallons of sewage versus underground. So there has been 3 sites identified, along the watershed, 2 in Upper St. Clair, and then 1 at the old GE glass plant on the other side of the creek. So these are hypotheticals, but those are where they look like on a map where it could fit. They originally identified the end of Chartier, of Commercial Street. I said, I'm sorry, I got development plans that came in day. But it was so nice.
Yeah.
So otherwise, they were aiming
They
there,
were.
because it's right at point of connection, it's perfect. So you couldn't, the stars aligned. I just zoomed in, I said, no, here's the roofing plans, here's the development, no, you can't go. So then they go in across the street, across the creek.
Yeah, because that's more abandoned property than anything.
Correct. So what you'll see coming back that Kevin will summarize is that between now and the next couple of months, we need to give consent that we acknowledge that the consent order is putting on a burden that we need to find a way to retain this versus that. So it's part of the whole watershed. The watershed's very complex, but it's a real topic.
Even, because across from the power plant on McLaughlin, that, where they keep trying to build something, the plans keep falling through.
That was identified.
That field, you could make it above ground like we did in McLaughlin. They could make that a retention area, and then where they tore down the YMCA, the swimming pool and all that.
It's too far up in the system.
Yeah,
So-
but above ground storage, to take that whole lower field and that, dig it down and make it a retention area, so it buffers the water coming down the creek that slams us all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing there, so it's basically purchasing the property, and Bethel Park got a lot coming down there, because a lot of it comes from South Hills Village, and you follow that creek all the way up through, all the way to South Park Road and all that area, there's a lot of stormwater coming out of there.
But this is sanitary.
Right, I'm saying,
Yeah.
when you're talking with those guys, say, you gotta come above ground too.
I get it. So you're gonna see that in next month's
Yeah.
packets. So it was good that. All right, so sewer funds balance, next year, 2.2 million. And those are what's on the radar that keeps us in compliance with the regulatory agencies. Any questions on the sewer fund? All right, next one is the garbage fund. This, as you see, all the yellow are items that couldn't be finalized until the bid opening. The borough's 5-year contract with county hauling expires the end of this year. We put a new trash contract out for bid. There was a number of haulers that were interested, however, only 2 bid on it. And I got, the bid opening was today at 1 o'clock. I hurried up before I left today, emailed out unofficial bid tabs. I still need to go through and double check the math and make sure everything's right, but it's definitely a conversation on how this all shakes up.
Did a whole bunch of the companies show up though for the bid opening?
3. And it was sad is that county hauling bid on every option. So I kind of been calling our garbage contract cafeteria plan. We bid it any way you could think of to try to keep costs down. Right now, we have the Cadillac and trash service where you can put out everything. It's unlimited weekly recycling. That's like the most expensive you can get manual collection. We bid it that way. We bid it that way with bi-weekly recycling. Then we bid putting a limit on how many bags you can put out, weekly, bi-weekly recycling. We bid it automated with weekly and bi-weekly recycling. We bid it with the HHW event, and then we bid it with extra cans. The larger company, Waste Management, only provided bids for automated service, bi-weekly recycling, nothing else.
They omit all the other bids,
Yeah.
not bid.
And then Noble County Hauling bid on everything, and they were the lowest bid on everything.
Yeah.
And then the bid opening was at 1 o'clock. Waste Management turned their bid in, no lie, 2 weeks ago, and it was sitting unopened on my desk because the lady went on vacation. And then County Hauling, it's funny, Joe come out, he came in with the box literally like 8 minutes before the bid opening. I go, what were you gonna do if you got stuck in traffic, you know? And how we had. And then the other company that came was Valley Waste, and I was honestly hoping for one of these like smaller companies that would blow them out of the water. And he didn't bid, he just came to observe. And it's like,
That's one, Mom, I've been, is valid.
no, they went with Noble.
Yeah.
They went with County Hauling.
Yep. They did.
Because they were the only ones that bid on Shake Hog was the same 2. So all the Shake Hog communities had 2 options, just like we're sitting with now, Waste Management or County Hauling. So a lot of people are staring at
I wish
first.
the public really knew what this was
Yeah.
like, you know, they.
It's hard.
But the COG went with waste management, correct?
No, each town has their option. I'm pretty sure
right,
South
right,
Park
yeah.
went with county hauling, a couple of the smaller boroughs went with county hauling, Mount Lemon went with county hauling, because you had unlimited traditional services. If you went with waste management, you were provided one 96-gallon cart, and nothing more is taken outside of that cart. So it's really a culture change. And one thing that was unique here, not with Shaycog, was with the Shaycog, it's like you had two schools of thought. You want to keep it unlimited with manual, or do you want to go with the cart? And waste management was lower on the cart. This time around, he sharpened his pencil, he blew them out of the water, and county hauling was cheaper on everything, even though the numbers are a big increase. Like right now, we were fortunate where we've had the same garbage rate of $53 a quarter that we bill the residents. We've kept unchanged for 5 years. And we've been funding that through basically the fund balance and making sure we're collecting some bad debt, and it all works out. So now, next year, there's gonna be a rate increase, but we gotta figure out what's the best option. But give me a day and I'll get a better spreadsheet together that can summarize the options, because the 10-bag option probably wouldn't be that much of a culture shock, because you can still put out 2 bulky items a week, like if you were going to throw out your couch and love seat, but you can still put out 10 bags. In all reality, how often do you put out more than 10 bags?
Do they have to fit in that 96 gallon?
No.
No.
It's like, keep it as is today. You know how you use your own garbage can?
Yeah.
And how many bags do you fit in your garbage can?
5, 4.
Yeah, it's
It
Big
depends,
96-gallon
depending
bags.
what kind of,
No, 40 pounds.
Oh, 40.
There's a defined
Yeah,
40
construction
pound.
bag,
Yeah.
a 3, 4 at the maximum.
Yeah, so 10 bags is kind of excessive. So it would
I
only
was
come,
gonna say, holy cow,
it's only gonna come into play when you clean out your house or something.
break it up over a couple of weeks and
Yes.
put 5
Hey,
bags.
my neighbor's got 2 bags out, I'm putting it over there.
But the 10 bag, I don't think would notice, so that shaves easy money. The big culture change is, do you go weekly or bi-weekly recycling? Like, our current recycled cans are 25 gallons. Everyone's now getting a 32-gallon cart, so it's a little bit more capacity. Like, I know, like, you probably don't have much recycling. I got a young family, my thing's heaping every week, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, but the bi-weekly.
Beer cans, they're driving you to drink them.
So if you did bi-weekly recycling, limit the bags, it's only going up to $22 a month from 17. So it's $5 a month, $15 a quarter. That's the most affordable option. It's just bi-weekly recycling is a big culture change here.
For everybody to remember which week is doing it.
Correct.
That's
Well,
the
it's
issue.
one plant that we can go around about $400 a year.
If you do,
Yeah.
you keep it as you have now, status quo is up there.
Yeah,
I
it's
should
pretty
it's like
comfortable.
$87 a quarter.
Yeah.
So is Waste Management only doing automated pickups now?
They only bid on automated
Yeah.
bi-weekly recycling.
Yeah.
Even just trash, they all automated?
Correct.
One can, that's it.
Yeah.
You gotta stuff it in that.
And it's a big can, I watch people, like in Upper St. Clair, drag them big containers to their.
Those were those 92-gallon ones.
If we did choose to go automated, there is language in there that after, everyone will be provided a 96-gallon cart as a rollout. And then after so many months, you realize this cart's too big for me. You can swap it out for a 32 or 64-gallon cart. And then if you say, one cart isn't enough for my house, you can go using the bid price and have a private relationship with the hauler and pay an additional annual fee of $100 more on top of what you're paying the borough. I don't think the cart would go very well here.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's not feasible.
In areas like McLaughlin, you know, Fire Hill, on the main streets, you can get away with that, but automated, like up their street, how are you gonna do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, you
They-
got power
they
line
go to
and
the back of the
everything.
truck.
You know, I think inevitably, we're gonna have to consider that that's going to be our future. I mean, this,
Maybe.
But it's just, Like Third Street, how do you,
No, but what I'm saying, I think,
Sometimes you can barely fit the truck down the street.
yeah,
And then we bid it as a 3-year contract and then a 5-year contract. I want to get the numbers and the percentages calculated, but you can see years 1 through 3 are reasonable increases each year. Then when it hit year 4, it jumped like $4 or $5 more per unit. And it's like, you can tell he's writing writing on the wall that, you know, how can he predict 4 years out? Because they definitely took a loss on the original contract, because they only went up 1% each year over 5 years, just to get into the area, you know? So,
they didn't even
5
have enough
years
trucks.
don't look doable.
When they didn't even have enough trucks, they were bringing trucks in from everywhere to, because I don't think they figured they would.
Well, they didn't anticipate getting all those bids.
Right.
So, give me a couple days and we'll try to work this out this week. But I gotta, it's right, it's so new, it's only happened at 2 o'clock we were done today, and it took a long time to read it.
You might as well just skip that one, Joe.
Yeah, so, but all the soft costs we know, and we know what the soft cost is on top of everything. So when we have the actual amount, it depends if you choose the HHW service or keep it with the event. And then it turns out to be like $12 for the whole year in soft costs, or $13. So I know what the soft costs are to easily calculate what the rate should be. But we can have this done by the time we go next week. Next fund is the liquid fuels fund. This is easy. The borough receives an allocation from the Commonwealth out of gasoline and diesel taxes. We received communication that next year we should anticipate $136,000.
Not bad.
It's not bad, but it's going down.
It's a good, yeah.
Electric cars.
Electric cars.
Electric
People
cars,
are driving
sure.
to go to work, you know. But we picked up some missing streets over the past couple of years to get that up a little bit. So to not rely on liquid fuel solely for a road project, because that would only do one street, we're proposing to augment that with capital project funds to have a $336,000 road program next year. And we've been doing that for the past 3 years now using the capital.
Yeah.
And that's how you get bigger streets to go down. So it works. So liquid fuels are straightforward. It's just of the road project, $136,000 is it. Questions? All right, now going into capital project funds. This is the ones that start with 19. The capital project fund still has about, I think the easiest way to understand the capital project fund is move forward 2 pages and go to my cash flow spreadsheet. It looks like this. It doesn't look like all the colored columns. It kind of flows what projects we have and what we got on radar for next year. The capital project fund right now has $1.4 million in it. And after some funding that's committed and due to the fund that we're waiting on, for next year, it looks like we have $1.8 million to work with. Now, projects that are committed, basically under contract, in the works, that we still owe money on, and it's a lot, but we're doing a lot. The comprehensive plan, we still owe $7,800 on. The Chartier Street widening, we still owe PennDOT $488,000, we're waiting on the invoice. Warner, the wall repair, contract $729,000.
Do we have a date on that yet?
No, we're waiting on West Penn Power. There's a problem with West Penn Power. There's a complaint being made to PUC against West Penn Power now, so hopefully that will get some traction. Because he told us early November, when we had that meeting, to redo like a plan B.
Pushes in the spring.
It's pushing in the spring. But if you remember, we were able to do the Union Street repair in the winter time. It's just the only thing that didn't get done was the roadway base. And if that's the case, I think that's good, because the erosion is causing that hillside to slide more and more. It is getting bad. But everything we could do, we've done. And what happened was the West Penn Power delay, so that you can understand the history on it, is they moved all the wires off the right-hand side. And Verizon came, Comcast came, and moved their wires. However, at the end of James Street, it crosses right over where the wall has to be built, and they can't put a drilling derrick in the air. So just at the end, they need to move them over. West Penn said they had to do a number of electrical relocations for the new bridge, if you knew.
Yeah.
And there's something going on with the PennDOT project and the contractor paying them for that electrical work. And until they close that out, they don't want to move those wires, or keep saying with the bridge. So we had a meeting on site with their electrical engineer, come up with, okay, if you don't want to change this wires around, can we come up with a plan B with, instead of totally dead ending and feeding it the reverse way to energize the houses, can you sink another pole on James Street, right on the corner of the public lot? That way, all the wires are in line with coming down the left-hand side of Warner. We were able to work with the parking authority, get an easement. I had it done within a week. I sent it back to West Penn Power saying, here's your easement. Your plan B's ready to go. And Jerry was all good. He goes, all right, give me 8 weeks. I should have either, my goal is to keep on plan A, but if we have to go plan B, I have it. And it worked out nice, as the guy took care of some old poles that were on James Street that were, they kept plopping poles after pole. They got rid of them. They got rid of old poles in front of the post office. We were able, there's that ugly pole on Washington Avenue across from Nola Bella Beaton that's leaning. We worked a deal out with him to get that out of that right away, and he's gonna sink it next to the yoga shop so there's no poles on the avenue. So our couple meetings with the guy really paid dividends. It's just, he came through halfway, and now it's just right back to where we were in the spring. So the electrical contract from Lennon Smith is talking to the PUC to hopefully get them to push to finish out. But if you remember, when we did Union Street, all the concrete work, all the steel work was able to get done in the wintertime. It's just we had a stone roadway base until April. And if that's the case, I consider us lucky if we could do that.
So they're not well traveled. I mean,
No.
they're traveling, but they're not well traveled.
No. So that contract's still $700,000. And maybe it's worth noting is that of that $700,000, we were able to get $500,000 in a gaming grant from Senator Robinson, and then all our COVID or American Rescue Recovery Act money is going in. That's $566,000. So right there puts you at $1 million some thousand. The two landslides were almost 100% funded by grants. So we get really creative here. But it's good to a degree, because if that COVID money didn't come into, we don't have it to pay for that landslide. So some towns really got to do some really fun things with their American Rescue funds, but at the end of the day, we're being very responsible by using it for that landslide. And it worked out good, because originally when that money came in, it was only supposed to be made for sewers, water, and broadband internet. And it's like, what the hell am I gonna do with $600,000? So we were able to redesign the Warner Street project to do stormwater work there, so that it fit into the requirements that it was a stormwater sewer repair to use our COVID money. So we got creative, and then it all hit all the boxes, and then another months go by, and a bunch, I guess, other towns are saying, what am I gonna do with this money? And then they loosened it up, and you can do it for anything you want with it now. But all our American Rescue money, if the citizens ask you, is funding the two landslides. And it was a godsend. They were $1 million that really, no one could be prepared for that.
Yep.
So it worked out good. Cook School, the playground projects are $400,000. The basketball court improvements for next year, the engineer estimates at $129,000. The DEP recycling grant on the truck, we still have $57,000 on the truck. The truck's slowly being built. Hopefully, I was hoping to have it last week. I don't have it yet, but the body's made, and now it's being assembled up in Somerset at A&H's duplex. So hopefully we have that before the snow flies. The new recycle cans you guys authorized last month is $107,000. Police in-car camera equipment, we paid the bill last month. That was $35,000. Chartier Street sidewalk and ADA work. If you remember back, I think it was April or May, the engineer for the slide project presented us with the draft agreements on what the cost share would be for the new sidewalk and all the handicap ramps. He estimates that to be $32,000. Originally, that was going to be a 2024 project, but that's looking like it's potentially 2025. Bank Street bump outs, we're already committed for next year, that's $100,000, and that pays for all the ADA ramps crossing the borough street. So that isn't all just bump outs, but it's the sidewalk ramps, so it's $100,000. And then $200,000 is allocated to the 24 road program, and then matching what we did this year. So you can do 3 sizable streets. This year we did 3 sizable streets, and we keep that going. So total projects is $2.3 million. Now grants that are, I have to wait till the project to be completed to get reimbursed. The comp plan grant, once we complete that project in January, the state will give us back $37,500. Cook School Playgrounds, they're gonna give us another $136,000. The in-car camera grant is $35,000, and I submitted reimbursement on. The DEP grant's $229,000, and then the Warner Street project's $500,000. So all these projects will be wrapped up end of this year, early first quarter, so that going into early spring, that's $938,000 of grant reimbursements that comes back. So after you complete the proposed projects for next year, they're mainly active transportation improvements, the Cook School, pickleball, basketball court, and the road projects. It leaves an estimate of $430,000 in the capital project fund going into 2025. The grant projects that we have out there is pending, that I'm still waiting on an award, if it's funded or not, is the Gregg Avenue steps, the Chartiers Park Trail, and some ADA improvements on Station Street. And if those projects get funded, it's $518,000 over the projects, and the match would be $280,000. The other project that we have on the radar is the flood control project. That is estimated at $7.1 million for Phase 1A. We received earlier this year the $1 million grant from the local share account, and that's committed and under contract. We just received an award a couple months ago on the FEMA grant, $5.3 million. And we have the Casey earmark that's pledged, and then we have two stormwater grants that we submitted as well. So we need to know where the 2 DCD grants, if they get awarded, and where does the Casey Fetterman money come in with appropriations. Justine even noted that they're starting to make appropriations now to see, and we need to find out where ours is. We haven't gotten a determination if ours is in or not, but if everything falls into place, we'll have in excess of $7.8 million to fully fund Phase 1 of the flood control project. And
Excuse me, before you go any further, I'll go back a little bit on those steps. How much of those steps is being used? I mean, we have a liability over there. Can those steps be eliminated hypothetically? I don't mean it, let's go ahead. I mean, it's a big liability over there. There's a lot of kids using those steps. You know, Redfield.
yeah,
What's a
couldn't
bigger
figure it out.
liability? Kids using the steps or kids walking through someone's property up the woods?
But it is, for school, it is school bus. What, anything is comfortable. Anything we do such like is comfortable. I agree with you. What is better? But I don't know. I think we should take a very, very close look how important those steps are.
I think you could sit back and answer it very methodical. The borough has dedicated an active transportation improvements. Right now, they're technically closed. There's a sign they're closed. However, they're somewhat passable, but not. We prioritize this as a grant project, not using borough tax dollars. If we are fortunate enough to get a grant, do it. If it's something that we have to fund, obviously it's low on the priority because the engineer's estimate is, it's more than just the steps. It's a trail
Of course.
connector because it goes from the bottom of Laurel all to the top, not
course it
just the
is.
little step segment. It's
Yeah.
$336,000 is his
That's
estimate.
a walkability grant
But
right
that,
there.
isn't it incorporating handicap?
Yes, so
Yeah.
That, it's not just a set of steps now.
Oh, I
And there's
understand
a
it.
landing, and there's a bike run.
Yes.
I understand the whole consequences, the whole, but also,
we're all talking the same way, because if we thought it needed done today, it would be a line item in the general.
Exactly.
If we're able to keep applying for grants, we'll keep applying for grants. I think it's like I said before, like the flood control project. It's gonna be the ones that I'm gonna have to throw it at the wall a couple times, and eventually, 4 or 5 times, if you're in Bridgeville crying about steps, they'll give us money. That's what will happen. And that's what we got. So, I have, right now, we have that, a GEDF grant or a DCD grant pending for the Greg Avenue steps that we just submitted. And then we're submitting it for another local share grant that will be on your agenda this month, and we're calling it Active Transportation. And, we just marrying a bunch of projects together and see whatever sticks, kind of deal. So, capital project fund is kind of easier to follow off of this spreadsheet than this.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the total, our total that we owe is $2.3 million, correct?
Yes.
And did we not get $1.3 million in grants that are assigned to these?
Yes.
Okay.
But, so there's gonna be, at the end of '24, it's gonna balance out. But there's gonna be a couple times where to keep cash flow, we're gonna have to do transfers until this one reimburses it. But at the end of the day, it will work out to be conservatively 434.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that people realize that, you know, so much of this is grant money.
Right.
It's
It's
all,
not
About
coming out
80% of it.
Yeah. Right, right.
and then if you look at the next page, this was just, Joe brought up a couple of months ago the need for a 5-year capital budget plan. So these are like projects within 5 years we should start thinking of, and this is like phase 2 of the flood control project. What do we do next with those Baldwin Street lots in addition to the little budget we put together? There was talk about an amphitheater. There's talk about the active transportation plan about doing the traffic calming in the downtown with the pedestrian island that we're trying to seek grant money for. The South End project finished a streetscape that one block. And then the comp plan shows the North End improvements, which is the extensive traffic realignment, streetscaping, and basically redevelopment of the North End. I wouldn't mind within the next couple of years putting money aside for an administration car, even if it's a hand-me-down police car, just so that we don't have to use our personal cars anymore. Phase 2 of the flood project, like I said, I'm applying also for a grant to reconstruct Shelter 1 at Chartiers Park. It's kind of at the end of its life. It has termites and the floor is bad, you know, so that's kind of like the big thing we have down there. And then just keeping a mindset that we know now that the liquid fuels fund alone won't really make a dent in road resurfacing. We need to keep being conservative so that we can augment it to keep up with the roads.
Yeah.
So that's the capital project fund. Any questions on that? It is, it probably is. And then off of that, there was a road rating table that was done. And the engineer a couple years ago rated every road from worst to best, and we just keep whittling off of that. And each fund has a narrative, so like if you weren't at the meeting, or if you were a citizen wanting to know what is Warner Avenue, it explains it in detail with the budget that we would go to advertise.
Great job. Thank you for your passion.
Thank you.
Well done, Joe.
Thank you.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Yeah, if you're okay with it.
Let's see.
Good.
I was just, will that be on the borough website? You put it here.
Once we pass it, right?
Yeah, so if you look at the agenda tonight, is a review and discussion of the proposed budget, which we did. If there's any other questions, I'm here to answer it. Once we settle that, I would ask, like I said, the agenda is a motion to authorize the advertisement and public display of the proposed '24 budget. And the way it works is how we've done it in the past is hard copy goes on the board here of legal advertising. And then important stuff like this, I try to also get over the library as another public source. It would be advertised at the library, and then it goes on the website. So those would be the...
There could be a couple minor adjustments before it goes.
Yes, and we have to do the garbage fund.
Do garbage, enter that on there,
Yeah, so once we work out that garbage and all that,
There'll be something else that,
we can have it all done.
yeah.
And then in all reality, legally, we have to give 10 days of advertising. If we're on schedule to adopt at our December 11th meeting, we kind of have an extra week this month, the way the calendar falls, so it works out well. So I would hope to have this all fixed by the time of our next month's meeting, or next week's meeting. So this could be posted everywhere by next Monday.
You can actually see this year's on there, right, it's still on
Yeah,
here,
and every
so you
time.
get an idea where it's posted. It's-
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah,
I make a motion that we,
Advertise.
A second.
all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
sorry,
Make a motion for adjournment?
No, that's a tradition.
I thought you were saying no to adjournment.
He likes
Take a motion for
I want
adjournment.
Joe to show more
You need
passion.
anything outside of that?
I make a motion we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
Uh,